Chapter 13. This means war. I have an idea, said Miss Nichols. We should put electric fences around the garden, huh? An electric fence? Yeah, said Mr. Tony. If an animal comes within the range of an electric fence, it will get zapped with 1,000 volts. That's a shocking idea, Ryan said. I'm not sure if I approve of such violence, said Andrea. What do you have against violence? I asked her. Not violence, Arlo. Violence. I knew the difference between violence and violence. I was just yanking Andrea's chain. Where would we get an electric fence? I asked him, Neil. From rent an electric fence, I told him. You can rent anything. We had worked really hard building the wooden fence, but we all helped Miss Nichols tear it down. Mr. Tony went to rent an electric fence. When he came back, he set up and plugged it with a long extension cord. Then we waited. There was electricity in the air. Really, after we put up the electric fence, there was electricity in the air. It'll keep those vermins out of the garden, Miss Nichols said. But it didn't. The next morning, we all went out to check the garden, and more of our veggies had been taken out of them. All the grown-ups as they looked at what was left of our garden. They got through the wooden fence, said Mr. Tony. They flew over the electric fence, said Miss Banks. We didn't see him on the video, said Miss Nichols. We might have turned under the fence. Miss Nichols snapped her fingers. Bugs, we all shouted. I shoulda thought of that from they gotta go. Bugs and slugs and other little creatures must be eating our veggies. Of course, it seemed so obvious. It could be earrings, said Mr. Tony. Earrings that that didn't make sense. Why would anybody put a wig on their ear? We should spray the garden with bug spray, said Michael, and eat veggies with bug sprays in them, said Miss Nichols. No way, nah. We need ours to outsmart the creatures. She snapped her fingers. Every time I thought Miss Nichols was going to give up, she didn't. Whenever something failed, she just became more determined. Bug traps, Miss Nichols shouted. She explained to us that bug traps and slugs and earwigs attract to carton food and like garlic and seaweed. If you put those things in a little cup and place them around the garden, the creatures will climb into the cups and get trapped in there. We all went into the vomitorium to get garlic vinegar, crushed eggshells, coffee grounds, and other stuff that Miss Nichols told us bugs like to eat. We found some little cups in the farts room. That this means war, Miss Nichols said, as she put a last bug trap down in the garden. I'm gonna get these creatures if the last thing I do. You probably think that's the end of the story. You probably think bug traps worked and everybody lived happily ever after. Well, the bug trap didn't work, and nobody was happy. Nothing worked. No matter what we did, the bugs kept eating our veggies. This was the worst thing to happen since National Poetry Month. Miss Nichols sat down on the ground and put her head on her hands. I'm worried about Miss Nichols, whispered Andrea. The stress is getting to her. I think she needs to talk to somebody. Andrea's mother is a psychologist, so Andrea thinks that everybody needs to talk to somebody. Like, it was all ridiculous if you ask me. I couldn't believe bugs like to eat veggies so much. I hate veggies. I bet if you put junk food out there in the garden, the bugs would eat it and leave our gardens alone. I snapped her finger. I have an idea, I said. We should put flaming hot Cheetos over the garden. The bugs will eat them and leave the vegetable alone. Everybody looked at me. Andrea rolled her eyes. Bugs don't eat the flaming hot Cheetos. Hello, she said. You think they profess cheesy zigzags? Yes, I asked. Everybody laughed even though I didn't say anything funny. Chapter 14. Bladwort. I love Flamin' Hot Cheetos. They're my favorite kind of Cheetos. And believe me, I've tried them all. Nobody thought putting Flamin' Hot Cheetos in the garden would keep the bugs away from our garden. But Miss Nichols said we could try it. Nothing else had worked. We were desperate. So we tried it. We sprinkled a bag of flaming hot Cheetos around the garden. And you know what we found the next morning? You probably think a bunch of flaming hot Cheeto plants. That would have been cool. But the truth is, the bug didn't touch the flaming hot Cheetos. The only thing they wanted was to eat our veggies. The wooden fence didn't work. The electric fence didn't work. The video camera didn't work. The strikeout didn't work. The bug trap didn't work. The flaming hot Cheeto didn't work. Nothing worked. I give up, said Mr. Tony. We tried everything. Nothing will keep these bugs away. Yeah, said Miss Banks. Let's just forget about starting a vegetable garden. It was that. We all got up to go back into the school, but that's when Miss Nichol snapped her fingers again. Wait, I know how to get rid of the bugs. Bladwort. Huh? That's also backward. We all looked at Miss Nichols. She had a wild look in her eyes. Bladwort, she replied. Bladwort, of course. Why didn't I think of it sooner? Bladwort. Maybe Andrea was right. Miss Nichols did need to talk to somebody. Now she was just making up nonsense words. She must be totally losing his marbles. Are you okay, Miss Nichols? Asked Mr. Tony. He put her hand on her forehead. He put her hand on her forehead because that's what grown-ups always do. Somebody isn't feeling well. Nobody knows why. Bladwort, Miss Nichols shouted. Bladwort is a carnivorous plant, huh? Carnivore is the meat, said Andrea. She smiled. She smiles to let everybody know she knows everything. So she knows something nobody else knows. What is our problem? Carnivorous plant eats bugs, said Miss Nichols. I learned about him in my botany class. Miss Nichols told us that there are more plants than 200 kinds of bladwort plants. They have small hollow sacs with a hinged flap on them. When bugs touches the bristles on the surface of the flap, it gets stuck inside the plant and stings. Cool. We all had to try anything else, and nothing worked. It was a shoot. Miss Nichols went to a plant store and bought a bunch of bladworts. We planted them all over the garden. It took only a few days for them to sprout. I knew what you're thinking. think the bad words didn't work either. Well, you're wrong again, so none of the boo on you. It turned out that Miss Nichols was right this time. The blackboard must have eaten all the bugs. There were no bites taken out of our veggies. Miss Nichols should get the Nobel Prize for that idea. To the bad words, everything in the garden started growing like crazy: cucumbers, tomatoes, bananas, cantaloupes, and especially zucchinis. I think there were hundreds of them. Holy moly, said Brian, the zucchinis are taking over. It must have been Beethoven music Uncle Fred played for them, said Neil. We picked up the zucchini, but we had so many that we didn't know what to do with them. In arts and farts with Miss Hannah, we made zucchini necklaces and carved zucchini sculptures. In music with Uncle Fred, we made floats out of zucchinis. During library period with Miss Ruby, we made dried zucchini bookmarks. In phys ed, Miss Small invented a new game called Zucchini Ball. The teachers were using zucchinis for paperweight doorstops, and our custodian, Miss Lazar, used zucchini to pump drain in a sink. During recess, we had Star Wars battle on the ground with zucchinis as lightsabers. It was amazing how many things you can do with zucchini. What else would we do with zucchinis? I asked Miss Nichols. Well, for starters, you could try eating them. She suggested. Growth. The next day, at lunch in the vomitorium, Ryan had peanut butter and zucchini sandwich. Alexia had peanut butter and zucchini sandwich. Neil had peanut butter and zucchini sandwich. Everybody was eating peanut butter and zucchini sandwich. Everybody except for me. I forgot to bring my lunch from home, so I had to wait in line. What would you like for lunch today, AJ? And she asked our lunch lady, Miss Hall. I have a hot dog, she said. I said, I'll have a hot dog. I said, we don't have hot dogs today, she replied. How about a zucchini dog? It tastes just like a hot dog, but it's made from zucchinis. No thanks, I said. What else do we have? Let's see. We have zucchini burgers, zucchini fingers. She mashed zucchini pizza, grilled zucchini sandwich, zucchini fries. She went on like that for a while. Mr. Hall is off the wall. Do you have anything that doesn't have zucchini in it? Well, there's mac and zucchini, said Mr. Hall. It's only half zucchini. I wanted to go to Antarctica and live with the penguins. They don't have to eat zucchini. I don't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. The kids were behind me in line. I had to think fast. I'll just have a cup of juice. I told Miss Hall. Zucchini juice? Chapter 15. Attack of the Mutant Veggie. The next day, Miss Nichols arrived on her tractor wearing a t-shirt that had, "It's the time to thump the best on it." Well, the tractor wasn't wearing the t-shirt. She was. Didn't we go over that 1,100,000 times already? After we pledged the arrangements and the word of the day with Miss Banks, we went out to the garden to clean up and plant new veggies. And you'll never believe what we found growing in the garden. You probably think there was more zucchini, but you were wrong again, so now none of on you. It was just cucumber, and not just any cucumber. It was a giant cucumber. I mean, this cucumber was ginormous. It was as big as a sixth grader. Wow, we all said, which is a wow backwards, and Mom upside down. That was the biggest pickle I've ever seen in my life, I said. It's not pickle, Arlo, said Andrea. It's a cucumber. I knew that, but Andrea said cucumber has turned into pickle, so technically I was right. Miss Nichols has got a long life, and she was going to cut the ginormous cucumber, and pass it around to all classes, but just about to cut it into it. Wait, shouted Miss Tony, snapping her fingers. What's the matter? Said Miss Nichols. I have another idea, and Mr. Tony said as he pulled the cell phone. I know a guy who works for Guinness World Records. Before you cut the cucumber, he should see it. It might be the biggest cucumber in the world. Cool, Will shouted. We're going to be in the Guinness World Records, and shouted Alexia. Miss Tony should get the Nobel Prize for that idea. He called up the Guinness guy, and less than an hour later, he showed up. The guy must have reached over. I guess it's not every day that someone calls up and says that they grew the world's biggest cucumber in the world. The Guinness guy came out of the garden. It was a long yardstick with him. We showed our giant cucumber. He said as he measured it. Very interesting. Is it bigger than the cucumber in the world? Well, I must say this cucumber is quite large. The Guinness guy, but it's only the second biggest cucumber in the world. What? I'm sorry, said the Guinness guy. Last year, a woman in Australia grew a cucumber that was an inch longer than this cucumber. Nice try, though. Bummer in the summer. We wasn't really going into Guinness World Records after all. Everybody was sad, especially Mr. Tony. He always wants to set world records. Miss Nichols took out her knife again. She sliced the cucumber in half and opened it up like a coffin. If it looked like squishy and gooey and inside. The Guinness guy said he had to go. He was about to leave when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Wait a minute, the Guinness guy said as he were looking at the garden. What's this? He picked up a veggie and gathered around. The veggie wasn't holding look like a tomato or a cucumber or banana or anything we know we had planted. I don't rightly know, said Miss Nichols. I had never seen this kind of veggie in all my days. It is possible, said the Guinness guy. Thus you might have planted two seeds right next to another, and they combined to create a sort of mountain vegetable. All the grown-ups. It looked a sort of like the cross between a cantaloupe and a tomato, said Mr. Tony. It's a tomato-lope, I shouted. No, it's a cantomato, shouted Andrea. Tomato-lope, I shouted. Cantalamo, shouted Andrea. Tomato-lope, cantalamo. We went back and forth like that for a while. Ooh, Ryan said. AJ and Andrea are both wanted to name their mutant veggie. They must be in love. When are they gonna get married? Asked Michael. If those guys weren't my best friends, I would hate them. Whatever you guys call this thing, this Guinness guy said. I've never seen anything like this. It's one of a kind. It may be the first one in the world. I'm going to put it in the Guinness World Records. Yay! Everybody shouted, which is also yay backwards. We are going to be in Guinness World Records. We're gonna be famous gardeners, shouted Ryan. It was the greatest day of my life. Everybody started yelling and screaming and hooting and yee-hawing and yahooing. That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Miss Nichols was dancing around like everybody else when suddenly she stopped on a banana peel and edge of the garden. And she slipped, fell backward, and landed on our ginormous cucumber. Oof! She grunted as her body sank into the cucumber. Help! She wasn't getting getting and groaning as she tried to climb out of the cucumber. Miss Nichols is in a pickle. I shouted, "It's not a pickle." Andrea shouted, "It's the cucumber." Miss Nichols is in a cucumber, I shouted. She was flying at her arms, legs, and starting to get out of the ginormous cucumber, and then it closed up on her. It could be a cantaloupe, I shouted. Miss Nichols is stuck inside the man-eating cucumber. That's the sex system, Arlo. Andrea told me. Obviously, cantaloupe plants, they eat women too. It wasn't matter what you call it, shouted Miss Tony. Miss Nichols is trapped inside it. Get out of there. Ryan shouted. Ryan, run for your life, shouted Neil. Somebody call 911, shouted Alexia. Well, that's pretty much it. Pretty much what happened. Maybe Miss Nichols will escape from the cantaloupe cucumber. Maybe we'll get the pickle court. Maybe Miss Banks had a twin sister. Maybe grown-ups will stop sleeping on their knees and saying all the time. Maybe tractors will start wearing t-shirts. Maybe Alexia's baby sister will stop stealing veggies. Maybe my parents will let me have an invisible bunny. Maybe we can get rid of the garden and eat flamin' hot Cheetos instead. Maybe a man eating bladderwort will eat Andrea. Maybe next year we'll plant chickens on a tree and grow hot drugs in the garden. But it won't be easy.